So I brought these for you, actually. These are just some recent issues. Just in case you're interested. You may not be, but that's fine. Yeah.
Do I have to talk about technology?
No, you do not have to talk about technology.
So there's non-technology stuff?
There's a ton of technology stuff in there.
I mean, there's a ton of non-technology stuff.
It's, the party line for the magazine is we are about how technology impacts the world, so business and culture and whatever. And admittedly, it's a dotted line to get to you.
Okay.
But which is another sort of challenge of mine. But we'll get there.
Okay.
So maybe we can start by talking about where you're at right now. Congratulations on the film.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. I went to the first screening.
Did you like it?
I don't know if like is the right word, but I was really affected by it, certainly.
What is the right word? Did you hate it?
No, I absolutely did not hate it. No, I had very positive feelings towards it. And I'm trying to arrange another screening because I, of course, feel the need to watch it again before I can really think intelligently about it. But that's, again, you can worry about that stuff. What's it like for you, right? This is a broad theme that I'll just sort of present that we can discuss the finer details of, but how is the process of, what's your relationship to this film, and how is it, if it is, different from films that you wrote and were involved in, but were not technically the director of?
Well, in a large sense.
Yeah, right.
I'm the director, so I'm, and the writer, so I am the producer, or one of the producers. So I've got a very, very long relationship with this movie. I mean, I started writing it, 5 years ago at this point. And this has been my job for that period of time. I haven't had any other jobs. And so there's that. And then, I'm more, I don't know. This is a difficult period for me right now with this movie because it's over and I want it to be over, and putting it out into the world is just sort of, there's a lot of, it's so hard to know what I'm supposed to say because I'm trying to write, participate in an article that's going to sell the movie.
Right.
So it's like, well, what do I say?
Right.
It's great and I'm loving it, and I don't know what to say. I mean, I just think that I think it seems to be a tricky thing to interest people in, to sell people on, and I feel frustrated with that.
Mm-hmm. Are you surprised by that?
I guess I don't think about things like that until I have to, because I think that kind of is antithetical to the process of doing something that I consider to be truthful, which is what I try to do. Mm-hmm. If I don't want to think about what is going to succeed in the marketplace, because my thinking is, well, if I do something real, then it should. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't, but I've done something, which I consider honest. And I don't want to do the other thing. I don't have any interest in it. I kind of hate it. I kind of hate that seems to be the thing that... It's very hard. It's a really hard thing when you think about what the hell, how do you, or do you even want to try to appeal to the number of people that you need to try to appeal to in order to make something that costs this amount of money profitable. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's basically you're saying, okay, I'm going to sell my soul,
right?
Kind of, and I haven't done that before, and I haven't had to, and I feel like it's worked out well for me. I mean, my movies are never crazy profitable, but most of them have sort of done business,
right?
But this seems to be a tougher movie, and I say that from the point of view of someone who hasn't yet seen this movie released.
Right.
So I don't really know, but my sense is that it's it's going to be trickier. And I don't want to care about that, and on some levels I don't, but, you know, if I'm going to do it again, it would be nice if this sort of made a little bit of money or did some kind of splash, you know, because it's harder to get the funding, I guess, if it doesn't, and then I just sort of get pissy about, well, this is real, you know, this is like a real thing, this is like a really felt thing, not only by me, but like so many people who worked on it, and so many of the, you know, all of the people who worked on it. I mean, all of the actors and all of the most of the crew.
Yeah.
You know, at any level of the crew, but you know, but the people at the you know, production designer and the DP and the, you know, editor and you know, all these people kind of signed on in a really committed and creative way, and I want it to be recognized. So, does that answer how my relationship to the movie is?
Yes, very much so.
I mean, that's what my relationship to it is now. I'm feeling kind of sad. I'm feeling kind of like anxious. I'm feeling like I want to move on and work on something else. A, because I've been doing this for so long, and B, because I don't want to be attached to the results of the release, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Are you more, I mean, I think about what that period must have been like when you turned in the finished screenplay for adaptation, for instance, and waiting to hear, and I've read interviews, you said you thought your career was over and so on and so forth. I mean, it seems like you put yourself through this experience a lot. How does this compare to that?
I mean, it's the same thing in that but I mean, I every time I do something, I'm trying to do it more, you know? I'm trying to go farther.
Ratchet it up, yeah.
Not in any kind of like, you know, like extreme sport way, just kind of like, I want to be truthful, and I want to put myself out there to do something that I don't know if I know how to do, so that I'm taking a chance, because I think that's when you discover something. You don't discover anything if you're just sort of like in your comfort area. And plus I'm older, and I have different experiences and more experiences in the world and professionally, and I'm just trying to utilize those things, and you know, and the issues that I'm dealing with have to do with getting older, and maybe getting farther away from, you know, the demographic that goes to see movies.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I shouldn't do it.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm always astounded that I'm not in the demographic that goes to see my movies, according to the people that I work for.
They
wouldn't, you know, if I were on the street and they asked me my age, they wouldn't ask me to come see a screening of a movie.
Right.
You know, and I like them pretty well, so I would be a good audience for them. And I know lots of people who, you know, who you know, are hovering in my age who would, you know, but there's this really massive audience of, you know, I don't know what it is, 14 to 24 or something crazy like that, who they, you know, by the way, you know, Eternal Sunshine was an enormous success with that group.
Yeah.
And, you know, in this movie, I guess they're scared about, because it doesn't have to do with, it has to do with older people, you know, and it has to do with death, and not particularly romance, although it does have to do with romance, but maybe romance between old people is not going to bring the teenagers into the theater. I don't know.
Right.
But my point is that, you know, I feel like what this movie has that might be appealing to younger people is that thing that it's not safe. You know, that it's not a product. I think teenagers and college students respond to, they're pretty smart, and they respond to not being exploited, you know, like feeling like, okay, someone's doing something, they're not trying to get my money, they're not trying to like trick me into feeling a certain way about something, which I'm decidedly not trying to do with anybody. And that's, I think, when kids respond to music that they feel is real, is why they respond to it,
right?
Because they feel like it's someone's soul, or someone's heart, or guts are in something, and I feel like this movie offers that.
Authenticity is.
And it's not marketed in any way. It's not a marketed product.
It's funny because, and I read this in McKee's essay about adaptation in the shooting script. When you talk about stuff like, for all everybody throws the word postmodern at you, this is a very modernist approach to art, right? That's kind of excavation of the truth. I don't know if you think about yourself in these terms.
I mean, I certainly know that I've been called that, and I know that I've been criticized for it, and I know that, I don't think of myself that way. I think of myself as, I get ideas that appeal to me, and I try to sort of go with that because I think that that's the way you can do something. Otherwise, you're kind of like trying to figure out what other people want, and you're not doing anything.
Right.
So
So you don't think about the school that you're in necessarily. You just do
I don't think about
the
school that I'm in, and I don't think I'm in a school. And if I've been assigned a school, that's somebody else's business, not mine.
Yeah. Right.
I am. I really don't want to be in a genre, which I guess this is now probably considered.
What you mean?
I do think about relationships of what people are watching to the people watching it, which I guess then becomes. But that's for personal reasons that I think about that. It's not for clever reasons or for trying to sort of like be part of any kind of group. It's like this is stuff that I think about, and so I want to kind of incorporate it into my work when it feels appropriate.
Talking about that relationship to the audience, I had a couple quotes here. I mean, of course, one thing that I was struck by in this film is just in kind of keeping with the trajectory, it's kind of another degree of magnitude more, I would say, complex than Eternal Sunshine or than adaptation. I don't know if you'd agree with that, but
I don't know what it means. So I guess if you could be more specific about what you mean, then I could maybe agree or disagree. But
so well, rather than do that, okay. I'll transition away if that's okay, because sure. I don't. That was a poorly formed question, but
I can give you a poorly formed answer.
I love those. So I'm thinking about the way that you both stay one step maybe ahead of the audience, but also allow them to come to their own understanding of the movie. You don't want to spell it out for them, but you don't want to be too abstract at the same time. You want them to be able to have things. So let me just read a couple quotes and maybe you can respond.
Yeah, okay.
So this is McKee again. At times, though, adaptation still seems at risk of falling apart, for beneath its vivid surface are the agitations of ragged souls fighting to restore the balance of life. Images flit from story to story, in and out of suspicious realities, but Spike Jonze kept a firm grip on the pieces, so that notwithstanding flashbacks and flutter cuts, the chronology and causality is clear, and we have no problem telling a masturbation fantasy from fictional reality. The final irony is that Kaufman goes crazy with a purpose. Somewhere at the back of his mind, I sense a guy who knows exactly what he's doing, making it happen, smiling through, profoundly sane. Behind the eccentricity is someone, let's call him Charles K., who's ultimately in charge. So that's one quote. This is you talking about Eternal Sunshine. These two people meet and they're lonely, and then you drag it to a stop and lose people completely because you go into Joel's brain and you don't know that you're in his brain. We don't tell anybody, which I really liked. There were audience understanding issues, and the studio was very concerned about that, and we weren't. We'd done test screening, and people often got lost, but for the most part don't mind it, which is what I always thought. It's like having a moment of epiphany. You're lost, and then it's like, oh, to me is the greatest thing in a movie. So I underlined both of these quotes because, they strike me as this kind of relationship, and I'm curious as to how you balance that and how you balance that with this movie. Letting the audience know that you're in charge. Do you foresee them having that kind of moment? Is there someone in charge of this movie in the same way?
No, I don't think so. I think that this movie's different than either of the movies that you're talking about because it doesn't. I think those movies ultimately have a safety valve. in that there is a clever conceit that you come to understand.
Right.
And that kind of, in a way, is safe. And it's also something you can go, oh yeah, oh God, that guy's smart, you know.
Right.
Which is ego stroking for me.
Right.
This movie and the script was intentionally not like that. There's no clever reveal in this movie.
Right.
It doesn't turn out that this is anything other than what you're watching. And it doesn't give you any place to land. Which feels to me more honest. And I don't say that to disparage those other movies. Those movies, I like those movies, you know, and they were important to me, and I think that they're good. But this movie is different in that regard. I don't know if you agree with that, but I don't find that there's a thing in this movie that you go, oh yeah. Which is sort of, to me, feels more like life, mm-hmm. which is what I was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to sort of stay away from anything that felt that it was going to give people what McKee said,
mm-hmm.
which is that sort of feeling of confidence and also approval of me. Confidence in and approval of me.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And it's a riskier thing to do because there's you know, you leave people with that, you know, that sort of thing at the end, and then that gets you votes, you know, and I didn't want votes,
yeah.
So. Things flying away and things flying off and things becoming unhinged and things being incomprehensible seems to be the process of existence when you really sort of strip away the conceits you have in your own life, you know, to kind of like put it in some kind of framework that makes sense, which we do, and that seemed like a real and valid thing to explore, and I wanted to explore it in a real and valid way, and so that's what I think that's what I set out to do. And I guess that, you know, and I guess I'm going to suffer the consequences of that probably. I don't know, you know. And maybe it isn't a good idea for a movie, but...
Well, at the same time, you give people enough to talk about, right? You can't just throw randomness at the wall.
I think that there's a lot to talk about,
yeah.
And I hope there's a lot to talk about, and I think there's everything to talk about. I mean, this movie to me is about illness and time passing and death and relationships and guilt and remorse and creativity and repression and sadness and loneliness, and I mean, try to put everything in this movie. So I you know, and I think that there's lots of ideas and lots of thoughts in the movie. I guess what I'm saying is that I don't feel like I put in a kind of a clever framework to make people feel okay
right.
afterwards.
Right. They can understand it.
I think that there are things to understand.
Yes.
I mean, I think that there are things to think about. I think there are things to discuss. I mean, I would never be interested in doing a movie that didn't have those things. Everything I've ever done has been designed to give people at least a conversation afterwards. And what I've noticed with this movie, in terms of the response, is that people tend to sort of have these responses a day after or a week after. that it sort of sticks with people. I mean, I'm probably not with everybody, but with the people who respond to it, there seems to be a kind of growing response that it kind of like, it's like kind of like it's a virus, and it's multiplying inside them, which to me says that there's something going on in the movie that's worth thinking about, and I feel pleased about that.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can backtrack a little bit and just do the kind of nuts and bolts stuff of how this movie got made. So you've been.
I wonder. Do you think it's possible that we can order something? Because I'm really hungry.
Yeah. Oh, please. Yeah. Why don't you take a second and
let me look
check out the menu. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. They're not. I thought they would come by, but they're not. So I should probably. I wonder if I should have a Lay sandwich.
Yeah, I think you should. Oh, while you look, there was one follow-up question that I had to that.
Yes.
Before we sort of get off that topic.
Yes.
By your criteria, do you feel you've succeeded? I mean, the marketplace is the marketplace, but when you look at it, do you feel like you made the movie you want to make?
It's really hard to know that because you kind of like what the movie that you want to make keeps changing when you're making a movie because there's so many things that come into it over the. I mean, I can't say that I made the movie I wanted to make when I started out because I wouldn't even know what that is.
Right.
But yeah. I mean,
you don't feel it's quite.
I don't feel compromised.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
No, I don't feel compromised at all.
Right. Good.
And I had final cut on this movie, so I pretty much couldn't be compromised.
Right.
I mean, I could compromise myself, but I wasn't forced to compromise.
And the original cut was 4 hours long, is that right?
No.
Oh,
please correct
good.
that, please.
Good. Okay.
The assembly that I first saw, which is what the editor does. Hey, can we order something?
Okay, yeah, I don't interrupt.
No, thank you.
What would you like today?
Can I get a Le Figaro sandwich, please?
Sure.
And can I get do you have like maybe a Diet Coke or something?
Diet Coke, sure.
Thank you.
Would you like to have salad or fries with that sandwich?
Fries.
Oh,
Thank you.
great. Thank you.
I'll have the prosciutto and melon, please.
Okay. It's just an appetizer. That's it for you?
I think that's it for now. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Would you care for something to drink?
Water's great. Actually, yeah, iced tea.
Iced tea?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Every movie I've ever worked on, the first assembly has been 4 hours.
Uh-huh.
Every movie probably everybody has ever worked on. The first assembly is basically the editor, before I've even seen what he's doing, putting together every scene as written, as shot, together, and then you look at it. The movie was never intended to be 4 hours long. It was never 4 hours long when we showed it. No version of the movie that I showed to anybody was ever 4 hours long. It's always been, I have final cut contractually if the movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes or less. There's no way I would ever make the movie longer than that because I would lose my control.
Right.
So it's decidedly, it's not true. It's contractually not true. No. The movie was never 4 hours long. There was a cut. That was an assembly that I had seen. That was 4 hours with everything that we shot in. After we didn't sell it at Cannes, which became like big news everywhere. Which, by the way, no one sold anything at Cannes. No American movie was sold at Cannes. It really hurt us, and it hurt the sense of us. it was a crappy thing.
When you say it really hurt us, you mean just
I mean,
emotionally?
the perception of, no, well, yes, but no, I meant the perception of the movie. Going into, this was announced before the movie even showed for the press.
Right.
Decided that they wanted to show it before the press saw it to the buyers. And it was immediately blogged everywhere online with all these different press people. So,
and it was seen as maybe a sign of not
the movie
believing in
didn't sell.
film, right?
What is that a sign of?
Yeah.
Don't mention the fact that 8 of the 12 specialty companies had gone out of business this year, and there were only 4 potential buyers for the movie. 2 of which were only decided in the last year to only make broad comedies or thrillers.
Right.
Because there's no market for these movies.
Even Kimmel is
and now Kimmel has
gone
gone that route.
Yeah.
And I like to think it's because of this movie that we set them over the edge. I feel proud that I'm changing the business in its entirety.
Right. So here's a wired question for you. Maybe this is a naive question, but why deal with these guys? I mean, if you've got a fan base,
deal with which guys?
With distributors, and our editor-in-chief wrote this book, The Long Tail, which is all about how niche markets are becoming more important, and you can become self-sustaining, and you don't need mainstream blockbusters. And for someone who's not a mainstream blockbuster guy, it would seem a potentially interesting direction for you to go, as opposed to continuing to try the same Hollywood machine.
Well, I mean, the deal is, and maybe there's a way to do this that I'm not aware of, but I don't, I'm not smart about these things, I guess. But the deal is that this movie was originally written for Sony, and when they put it in turnaround, you needed someone to finance it.
Yeah.
I can't self-finance this movie. Nobody could.
Right.
It's not a $10,000 movie.
Right.
Which is about my limit.
Right.
So we had to sign on with a finance company, which was Sidney Kimmel, and they put the money into the movie, and then they own it, and they do what they want with it afterwards, But they have to find, at that point, someone who is going to put money into marketing it, and marketing a movie is, as what I've been told, more expensive than making a movie.
Right.
So how am I going to do that?
Right.
I mean, as it turns out, I'm going to be doing a lot of legwork for this movie because they're doing this aspect of it on a budget also. So I'm going to be doing probably going to be doing a 10-city college tour.
Really?
For the movie.
You mean speaking?
Speaking and showing the movie and getting kids fully interested in it. And so I mean, it's on me. And they're going to be doing the internet, and I guess that's free or cheap or whatever,
Right.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of, primetime commercials.
Right. It strikes me as so, I mean, I'm sure you get tired of talking about this at all, so forgive me, but it strikes me as so, of course, anathema to your public image that you're going to go out on a college tour. And is it as uncomfortable for you as your public image would suggest?
No, I mean, I'm okay with it. I don't know what my public image is. I mean, I know what people say, but it's weird, and I've said this in interviews before, so you might see this, if you use it in the article, you might see it somewhere else, but because I get asked this question a lot.
Right.
And the question is, how do I do these interviews when I never do these interviews? And how hard is it for me? And my answer has always been, well, I'm here doing it, right, with you. And I don't know. Do I seem terribly uncomfortable?
Right.
I mean, do I? I don't know. I really don't know.
No.
Maybe I do, but I get that from people I'm talking to. It's like, I'm talkative. I make jokes. I'm kind of like animated, and then they say, well, how do you do it when you're such a recluse? It's like, well, you've been talking to me for half an hour, and I like doing public stuff. I particularly like getting photographed, but I mean,
Wait, did you just say you like being photographed?
No, I don't like
okay, photographed. Right. I was
but if I go on stage and do a Q&A and I get laughs, I'm thrilled. I love it. It's a drug.
Yeah.
And if I go on stage, and sometimes I'll go on stage with other people, and Nick Spike or something will kind of compete about who got more laughs, and I win usually.
Right.
So I don't. That's not. There's something enjoyable about that for me. I mean, if this movie is a disaster commercially and critically, and I go out there and I have to defend it, and which has not really been the case for me before. I usually go to friendly audiences,
Yeah.
and so I mean that'd probably be a bad experience, and I won't like it anymore. But as of now, I'm okay with it.
And right.
The thing that kills me about you guys,
Yeah, sure. No, go ahead.
I have no opinion about you yet. I mean, I know you seem very nice. I don't mean that, but I have no opinion about what you're going to do because, boy, everybody is so friendly and they're so nice, and it's a job. It's a part of your job. I understand to get me comfortable so that I'll talk.
Right.
And you just think, God, I made a friend.
Right.
That was like my naive sort of way of thinking about this stuff earlier on in my career. I've made a friend. This guy's really like a kindred spirit. And then they write, and I had like one guy in a college interview. This is why I got they call me a cadaverous Charles Fleischer.
That's terrible.
I'm sure you're laughing at that because just because it's funny, not because you recognize.
No, not at all. That's
no, but I mean, it's like come on, man. I'm an insecure, sensitive guy, and you want to fucking hurt my feelings.
Right.
The thing I don't think people realize in your position, and this is a college kid, so I mean, I cut him some slack, but it's like, I'm just a person who gets my feelings hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never do that. I would never interview somebody and insult them physically because they're going to read that and they're going to go, man, I don't want to. That's in my head.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
So, I've gotten over it a bit. I mean, that particular thing, I don't think. I mean, I've gotten over the idea of people doing that, but it's a mean thing to do, and I think people shouldn't feel that they have license to be mean. I mean, I'm not an asshole.
Right.
I'm a nice guy, and I'm being sincere here, and I'm trying to give you real stuff. And,
right.
And that's true whenever I do these things. I'm not playing a game. I'm not trying to appear a certain way. I feel like I'm, trying to be honest, and then someone there's no reason to do that. So anyway, yes. And it's never included in those articles where they take sort of like pot shots at people who they are.
Yeah.
Like they come off as very. There's kind of like they're selling themselves in a certain way too, as something kind of like superior.
Sure.
And I've had a lot of interviews with people who are nervous around me. I don't know if they're just nervous people or they're nervous because they like my work or they're afraid I'm gonna whatever. I don't know, but and then you read these articles that they write and they're like this suave kind of like they don't say who they are, but you can feel like that's
right.
not.
They present a character themselves.
The fact that their hands are shaking when they put their tape recorder on the table, which I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
To me, it's like kind of sweet.
Yeah.
I'm like that, It's like you're nervous, I'm nervous. It's cool. We're people.
Right.
And then in the article, there's nothing like that. There's no sense of that humanity.
That's interesting. I was not surprised, but look, clearly there have been people that have wanted to do. I'm assuming there have been people that have wanted to do real profiles of you in the past with.
Yeah.
And that you have.
I don't talk about my personal life. I don't. I mean, I don't want to, and I worried about that today because I know that's. I know you want to do a long article, and it's like, well, I don't.
We don't care about your personal life
very
much. So
because I don't have. It's my personal life, and it's like, and it's not for sale.
Right.
I mean, the only way that my personal life is for sale is that I put it in my movies and in the way that I'm willing to put it in. I think the things I write about are things that are issues for me, but that's as far as it goes. And I feel like that's my job, and that's enough.
So all this is to say that, and again, maybe it was based on misconceptions, but that I pitched this story never really expecting it to happen because I never really expected you would agree to it. And when we got this email, last week or whatever, I was kind of shocked. And is that because I had a misconception, or is this because you have to do more of this stuff now for this movie, or something else entirely?
I've done stuff like this, right? I mean,
Yeah, although, I mean, it's the ride-along stuff that we still have yet to iron out.
the ride-along is fine if I had something to ride along with. Again, I'm not
Right.
riding along. I'm not taking you to my house, or I'm not taking you to any kind of whatever functions that would be part of my personal life. So, I mean, if you want to ride along to business stuff and I'm doing it, you're welcome to. Excuse me.
So it's not the case that you have to do this more because of the movie or anything like that.
I have to do it more because of the movie.
You do.
But I'm doing different articles. I've done them before. This one came up. I kind of feel like in this movie, I'm going to be the major promoter of it for various reasons. So it's I feel like it's on me, and I feel like it's going to need a lot of help because we don't have a giant sales department.
Right.
What it's called.
Right. Well, and
Can I get some ketchup, please? Or is it?
Jar right there.
Oh, okay. Thank you. This?
Whatever.
Thank you. Oh, and I think I might need some silverware actually.
Me too, please.
Thanks. Right. Which for someone who, again, I don't want to overstate this, and I'm just pushing this, so tell me if I'm overstating it. But
Okay.
for someone who has an aversion, I would imagine, to the idea of marketing, it must be I don't know. It doesn't sound like a very fun position, but maybe I'm.
Well, I guess the thing is that the way I can sort of do it, and it isn't fun, and I've got a lot of anxiety about it. But the way that I'm kind of making it doable for me and palatable is that I'm going to be honest. I'm not trying to sell the movie.
Right.
I think that I'll answer questions, and I'll hopefully somehow through this process people will become engaged and want to see it. But I'm not going to tell anyone to see it, and I'm not going to lie about the movie to get people to see it. And,
Right. Right.
I want people to see it. I want people to see it because I think it's good, and I want people to see it because we worked really hard on it, and I want people to see it because I feel like my career is my ability to do this kind of thing in the future is going to be sort of hinging on, and not only me, although I'm mainly concerned about me as long as I'm being honest, but,
Right.
but I mean, people not going to see these movies keeps these movies from being made. It keeps the marketplace is sort of is glutted with crap.
Yeah.
I think, and that's what people go to see, and that's what they'll continue to make, and that's all these indie movie companies are going out of business, as I said, or making these pretend indie movies.
Right.
They look like an indie movie, but it's not an indie movie, which is like pretend rock or something.
Yeah.
pretend-
I don't know if
I'm
you
not
feel
going to
that
name
way,
any
but-
names.
No, that's fine.
But I could name 100.
Yeah.
And it goes on for me, and it's like, you know what? This is just manipulative, and it's got a plan, and it's not what it says it is, and it's not what it purports to be, and you can feel like you're going to see an indie movie and feel like you're smart and supporting the community when you go to see it, but you're not. Mm-hmm. You're not seeing something challenging. You're not seeing something that pushes any kind of envelope or is taking chances. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're not. Mm-hmm. And that whole part of the movie business in this country is going away. And I care about it because, I've become pretty despondent in the last, we had a hard time selling this movie, and I was like, my feeling is like, what am I going to do next? I want to continue to do this, but I'm not going to calculatedly try to make a piece of commercial garbage. I can't do that. I've come too far in this direction in my own psyche.
Right.
To then sort of want to do that. I don't want to do it, and I think that this is. I think this movie is valuable, in that regard. I think it's about something real. I think it's about something that everybody in the world is going through right now, either directly or indirectly. Either they're going through it, or someone in their family is going through it, or someone that they're friendly with is going through it. And if you look at life as a continuum, you know, and we're all in different parts of it, but it is a continuum. You know, it is. You are. Our stories are. Our story of our lives are very, very similar. They go from here to here, and you may be 18 now, but you will be 60, most likely. You know, you'll either be 60 or die before you're 60. Those are your choices. You will be 80, or you'll die before you're 80. And then you will die. I mean, that's everybody in the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, using that as a criterion for audience, I think that we should be bigger than The Dark Knight. You know, I think we should, you know, I don't know what they've made, but I'm hoping for, you know. My joke is that I would be...
Well, okay, now let's the long-delayed the sort of play-by-play of how this movie came to pass.
Okay.
So, you said you started 5 years ago. I, of course, heard that Sony came to you. Did Sony came to you and asked for a horror?
Spike and me, Spike Jonze and me. We were doing something for Eternal Sunshine. No, was it Eternal Sunshine or adaptation? No, was that? I don't even know. It must have been adaptation because that was with Sony. But Spike and I were on a plane with Amy Pascal, and she said that she had the thought that that he and I should do a horror movie. That she would love to do a horror movie with us, and so we talked about that for a while, and then we at some point, you know, agreed to try to do it, and we came up with this sort of bare bone notion of what the movie is, and
Can you tell me what that was?
I'm trying to remember because I think it was sort of like this guy's wife and daughter move away. You know, she's an artist. She's an artist, and that part was sort of in place, and he's having all these health problems, and he doesn't know what they are. They're mysterious, and it just follows him as he goes through the rest of his life, kind of searching for, you know, getting more and more sort of ill and never seeing his family again, and I don't know how many more specifics there were, but I mean the idea was sort of like to deal with something that was scary in a real sense, as opposed to like a horror movie sense. And but it was fairly vague, and Amy was just, she didn't care what it was, just whatever we wanted to do because she liked us.
Sure.
And so you know we went away and I wrote it, and then
and then how long? When was?
It takes me a long time. It took me a long time in this case, probably a few years. I don't really remember, but it was long enough that Spike had become involved with Where the Wild Things Are.
So just because I'm going to have to do this probably,
Yeah.
But so would you say it was about 4 years ago that you started writing it? 5 years ago that you actually started writing, or how long between the sort of initial conversation and you really taking it on? I'm sorry to ask these kind of annoying
No, it's
questions.
okay. I don't know the answer to that, but I could tell you exactly if you want. What I have to do is I have to call my agent and ask them when the contract was.
Okay. Yeah,
and I
that would
could
be
do
great.
that.
Okay,
That would be easy.
I'd appreciate
but
it.
I just don't know.
Yeah, sure. So
it took me a while, and
write
Spike
it.
was doing this other thing, and I...
And your writing, I think I read, is, when you're writing, certainly your first draft, it's just you, right? You're not consulting with Spike at all, or?
No, I don't consult anybody.
Okay.
I don't show it to anybody.
Okay.
And so it was a long time coming, and he was involved in this other project, and I guess for business reasons or contractual reasons, I don't even know he needed to do that first. So
it sounds like a very hard film to live with for. Well, I guess this is an aside, but to write it for 3 years and just to work on it for 5 years, it sounds very hard.
It was, and it was thinking about a lot of things. But the thing is that I think about these things anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
which is why I wanted to do it.
Right.
And I kind of, but yeah, it was, but it felt like I was doing, doing something kind of real. So it makes me feel justified, or something like I'm doing, like I'm. But yeah, I mean, I tend to get very depressed when I write, and that sort of fed into this, and yeah. It's like I don't know. I think maybe Dorothy Parker said this thing about cutting open a vein. Writing is cutting open.
Yeah.
Dorothy Parker, that kind of like sort of thing. But I always want to do that. So it's sort of, if I can do that, then I feel good about it in some way.
And I know you'd been wanting to direct for a long. You wanted to direct Human Nature first, right? And then gave it to Michelle. Is that? Or you?
Yeah. No. I was originally. There was some talk I had with Ben Stiller early on, where he was going to produce it and I was going to direct it.
Oh,
and
wow.
that kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
And then over the years, there were like other people. Soderbergh was going to do it for a while.
Was going to do Human Nature? Uh-huh.
I don't know if anybody else was going to do it. But yeah, and then what happened is Michelle and I pitched Eternal Sunshine, and I had been given the assignment to do adaptation about the same time.
Right.
And I had to do that first. And Michelle was really antsy to direct something. And so he asked if he could direct this, and I felt guilty that I wasn't doing his script first.
Right.
Script for him first, so I did do it.
So this is a way of asking when the opportunity arose to have you direct this. I can imagine it would be a little. I mean, it's such an ambitious film, but at the same time, it must have felt like the realization of a sort of long-held ambition.
Yeah, it was, and I directed these plays the year before, and
right.
And
this is the theater for the New Year stuff.
I really enjoyed it. I wanted to, and it gave me kind of confidence in working with actors that I don't think I had before. I mean, I think I had. I mean, I think a little bit of a difficult time with famous people. Being nervous around them.
Sure, so everybody does, right?
Yeah. So this was kind of like I got my feet wet, and it was comfortable for me, and I felt like I could do this. I didn't feel nervous about that aspect of it. So. Yeah.
So, and then, I know Spike was a producer on this, but after the initial conception of it, was it all you at this point?
Yeah.
So no sort of feedback from anybody from your, and I know you've always been very involved in all of your collaborations, but I'm curious as to how, I'm curious as to how sort of you working on this essentially alone is different from you working with Spike or working with Michelle. I assume it's quite different.
On the writing part, or
the whole.
Well, what happened with Being John Malkovich, adaptation, Eternal Sunshine, and Human Nature, maybe to a lesser extent, is that once the directors sign on, then you kind of go through the material with them, and they have things that they don't like or don't work for them or they don't understand, and you discuss that. And there's that aspect of the post-writing process that was not here. I didn't do that with anybody.
Could you give me a quick example of stuff that got changed in any one of the earlier screenplays as a result of that process?
Well, the biggest changes came in being John Malkovich, and the whole end of the movie is different.
Right, I read
You read
earlier
the version of it?
that. Yeah.
So, which is, by the way, goes back to the idea that McKee brings up of things flying off.
You wanted it to fly off.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
So did you feel like you were? I mean, I don't mean this totally pejoratively, but did you feel like these guys were kind of reining in a little bit?
Yes and no. I mean, I really like working with Spike, which was the first example.
Right.
Being John Malkovich, I really liked talking to him about the script and stuff. He's got a very good sense of character and and we talked about real things. It was never like, the decisions were never like, in my mind, movie compromise decisions. It was like, well, why is this person doing this? What does this mean here? Do we need this kind of stuff to get this point across, or is there a better way? And so there was that. I do think that the end of the movie had the problem of not being the movie that I started with, and it's very tricky to try to force fit some new ending onto something else.
Mm-hmm.
You've got sort of things. I mean, we had all sorts of, like, the whole explanation of the portal and all that stuff that we had to kind of like. We have the scene in Malkovich, which I still know the number of because it was like the most troubling scene, and we had to redo it so many times. It's scene 100, which is the scene where Dr. Lester explains to Lottie how the portal works with that book.
Right, yeah, sure.
And if you ever watch that scene, you'll see that there's a lot of cutaways to things that aren't people talking. Mm-hmm, because so much was jammed into Orson Bean's mouth.
Right.
Because we had to get this information in a way that was sort of like expedient, but incomprehensible. But it was so much. There was so much explanation that I never would.
Yeah.
The explanation is completely uninteresting to me.
Right.
But because of the nature of what the end of the movie had for people to understand it, what it became, we had to have all these descriptions. So, and exposition. So, I mean, I'd be curious to see what that movie. I liked a lot of the stuff that happened at the end of the movie. I thought it was really funny, and I thought it was crazy, and had good jokes in it. I liked the character of Flemmer, the guy who controlled Lester, the devil.
Right.
I thought he was funny. I thought their relationship was funny. Lester and Flemmer are sort of like that he was kind of like house sitting for him.
Right.
So there's that. That's a good example. That's probably the biggest example.
So it's not that they're.
But Spike did not want the end of the movie the way it was. He could not. I mean, that was his thing.
It was just too sort of flying apart, basically.
I don't think it was that it was too flying apart. I think that it was flying apart. I don't think that it. I don't think it spoke to him. I mean, I'm not really entirely sure anymore if that's the reason. But I mean, it's so long ago. But it was like it was never going to happen.
Yeah.
And so. But I mean, I was at that point. I was like, I really liked Spike, and I really liked his work, and I was really grateful that he was taking this thing on because nobody was taking this movie on, and
sure,
it was like a big deal, and I wanted, and then there's like, when you're in a situation, a one-on-one situation, it's very hard to know if you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You start to sort of like second guess everything, and there's a lot at stake at that point, because.
So I have two. I know we keep sort of getting off these
whatever,
versions,
it's fine.
but I understand you wrote that script without the screenplay without the expectation that it was never going to really be made a movie. So did you know Spike before he read it? Did he just call you up out of the blue, or?
Not him. Some agent called me representing Spike, telling me that he wanted to do it. No, I had no idea who he was. I was
really.
Yeah, I was working in New York at the time, and I looked him up, and I thought he was, Spike Jonze, the musician, the conductor.
Right.
I thought it was his son is a producer, Spike Jonze Jr. And I thought that's who it was, which was like really weird because he had like I don't remember what his credits were, but they were not movie credits,
Right.
But I wasn't in the MTV community, which is where Spike was famous.
Right.
So I had no idea who Spike was, and but it didn't matter. It was like somebody wants to direct this movie.
Yeah. What was running through your?
Someone wants to direct this movie. This is cool. This was great. It was like it was not gonna happen. So that it looked like it might happen. It was very exciting to me.
It's so lucky that it was with a guy like that you could sort of.
No, it was great.
Right?
It was a very lucky situation. And I'll tell you something else. I was working in New York, and Spike was in LA, and a meeting had been set up, and I flew in for the weekend to go to meet him at a restaurant, and he never showed up. And this is certainly before I had a cell phone. Nobody had cell phones. So it was very, I had to find payphones and try to figure out where he was, and I couldn't figure. Finally, it turns out that Spike was editing a commercial or a video or something. It was on a deadline, and because I just couldn't make it. I was like, "Fuck you, man!"
Right.
I hated him.
Sure.
And I absolutely thought it was the most disgusting thing I'd ever heard. And I was like, "Could you do it next weekend?" So I almost didn't do it.
Right.
I had to go back and do my job and come back, and I decided, well, I need this thing to happen. And so I went back, and he did show up the next time. And to Spike's credit, I ended up really liking him within that meeting, and really kind of feeling good about it, about him. And then at that point or somewhere in there, I got his reel, and
right.
I thought his stuff was great.
Yeah.
So that was exciting, but it's interesting that it could have my being pissed off could have made this almost not happen.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know if there's a lesson in there for you kids out there.
Maybe that's your next message.
Swallow your pride.
Yeah. And then the other follow-up question I had was, you were talking about how in a one-on-one situation, it's hard to double down on, let's let this fly off the handle. And, I guess maybe that's being overly specific, but just the idea that there's a lot at stake, and it's hard to be totally confident in your decisions when someone else is confident in their decisions. Have you grown more confident over time, do you feel? Do you trust your instincts more now?
Oh, yeah. I trust my instincts more, and I also, at least in theory, am comfortable with the idea of failing, which I don't think I have always been, but I kind of feel like I need to sort of embrace that as a distinct possibility when I do something that I haven't done before.
Right.
Make choices that I don't know if are right. And I think sometimes you can even fail and not fail. Like this movie can fail commercially or critically even, and still, I don't put the same kind of stock in movie critics as I used to. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of really crappy reviews. Crappy.
Just off base.
Off base and shallow and mean-spirited, which I think is a really bad thing to do in a review. I think it's like your job is not to insult people or make some kind of clever little thing, at someone else's expense. Your job is to evaluate this piece of work thoughtfully,
Yeah.
And I think it's a very snide and arrogant thing to not do that. I mean, I think you can respond in kind if someone's doing that in their work. If someone's doing something shameless or pandering commercial, I think it's reasonable to respond that way. But if someone's doing something sincere and that they put themselves into, then you need to respect it. You may not have to like it. You can be critical of it, but you need to put thought into it. Mm-hmm. If you don't, then I don't have any respect for you. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a reasonable thing for that to go both ways. For they can be critical of me, and I can be critical of them.
Right.
I don't get to voice it publicly, but it gives me a kind of a confidence in that this is some guy's opinion or some woman's opinion. This isn't anything else.
Right. So, just to bring this all around.
Yes.
I
don't want this thing to fly off.
Right. Heaven forbid. So I get the sense that this experience was unique, not just because you have to use different skills as a director, and not just because you have to live with the movie longer, but because this is an opportunity for you to explore this solely in the way that you want to, without those other influences.
Yes, this completely, which is one of the reasons I wanted to direct, is to, see what it would look like. Mm-hmm. And feel like for me to do that. And I haven't had to. I mean, it's certainly been a collaborative process with the actors. And
sure, of course. Joking. If you want to take a break and eat or something, by all means.
With the actors and the production designer, the DP, and the editor. But I get to make the final decisions, and I used to write with a writing partner early on before I had a career. I used to have a partner, and there was a feeling towards the end of our relationship, our writing relationship, that it's very difficult to be personal when you're writing with somebody else because they may not be interested in. They don't. You can only go so deep because it's like it's got to go before a committee of two. Mm-hmm. He's not interested in this. This doesn't really. You've got this idea which doesn't really move him, so you can't really put it in because, and this feels like and I wanted to write by myself, and I had an enormous amount of nervousness about it, and I was pretty paralyzed for a while, because I was so used to writing with this guy at that point. But this is sort of like that. It's sort of, I think I'm at a different point in my life in a lot of ways, but I wanted to be even more personal than I could. Mm-hmm. So,
how do you think maybe you don't want to engage in this exercise, but could you foresee this movie as it would have been directed by Spike, how it would be different, or?
Yeah, I can. I can conceive it, because Spike has had comments about the movie, things that he wanted changed or felt needed to be changed when he's looking at the screenings and coming in and giving his thoughts. So,
I take it you prefer not to share those.
It's a slippery slope
for
me to do that.
Uh-huh.
you know, and I think that the end result is, and there was tension, you know, in the process, and a lot of tension for me because I think in some ways I became maybe by necessity very defensive about the movie, you know, trying to because there's anxiety and because, you know, and I didn't want it to become this other thing. There's a kind of and this is a larger sort of thought, not about Spike.
Yeah.
But there's this sort of like thing that goes on in the movie making process in post production where there's a lot of people talking and no one cares what the movie's about. They're completely willing and comfortable changing what the movie's about to make it more whatever, you know, better. Better is, you know.
Right, it's not commercial necessarily.
It often is based in not that they know it necessarily, but what they're comfortable with, you know. But I don't think it always is. But I think they will. But it's like, no, you know, someone has to protect. This is what the movie. This is the story. You can't just like, you know, this is what I wanted to write about. You can't just say, okay, well, let's make it about this now. I mean, you can, and people do it all the time. But I wasn't going to. But to get back to Spike. Yes, I mean, I think just in terms of the content of the movie, I think there would have been differences. I think there would be. I think there would be differences, and I won't go into it any more than that. But I will say that Spike, I think, has come around to appreciate the movie as it is. I think he loves the movie. He's told me that, you know, more than once now, and he feels that it isn't the movie that he would make, but it shouldn't be the movie that he would make. You know, it's the movie that I made, and I think when he became comfortable with that, then he seems to be really appreciative of the movie now. So.
The link of the article in Arts.
Yeah.
And the link of and to the marcher.
Can I ask if did Michel weigh in at all as well, or
Michel Gondry?
Yeah.
He hasn't seen the movie.
He hasn't seen it really.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Spike's a producer on the movie.
Yeah, obviously,
so he's,
right.
You know, he's been in on all of the screenings and meetings and stuff.
Right. I mean, he's more of a regular collaborator, I guess, than Michel is. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
When you're done with all this crap.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, Michel just hasn't seen it, and he's not in the circle of people who've seen it.
Okay, fair enough. Do you want to take a break? Do you want to eat and relax a little? Okay, so going back to the timeline, I mean, I'm not sure that there's that much more in the timeline, right? You wrote for a few years.
Yeah, wrote for a few years, then we had some period where it was hovering after Spike stepped down and I stepped up. Sony was considering whether or not they wanted to do it, and ultimately decided not to.
Right.
Put it and turn around. It was.
And was this a reflection of the script, or was this a reflection of Spike not being involved anymore, or do you know?
I could speculate and say it was a reflection of both. I think that they might have had a difficult time doing it, even if Spike were directing.
Yeah.
But I think without Spike and me being untested, I think that it was too much for them. I think that this script didn't, and I think this has come up again and again during various stages of the movie, is that no one's really sure what the demographic for this movie is.
Right.
So that's what happened. And then Kimmel bought it, or acquired it. They bought it. They bought it. They
put up the money for the
financed it,
and that's when you started
and then
casting.
Started casting, and then when we got an approved cast, and that was all secured, then we got money to start pre-production, and then we made the movie.
Yeah.
And we had to delay scheduling delay. We had to push it a little bit. I can't remember why. Some scheduling thing with an actor, I think. And then we started shooting, and we started pre-production in February of whatever year it was, and we started. Was it last year? I don't even know. And then we started shooting in June, and then we finished at the end of July, I think.
And this, as opposed to something like Malkovich where the whole third act changes, I'm assuming that this story stayed pretty consistent from the inception to the end.
Well, I mean, there were things that I cut out. First of all, the script was too long when I first turned it in, and I had to shorten it. To a manageable length, so that it could be a reasonable sized movie.
Right. Can you tell me anything about the stuff that got cut, or?
It was pretty. I have to say, I'm pretty proud of my cutting of the movie. I didn't lose anything in my mind. I mean, there were things that there was one storyline that I remember. Maybe there were others, but there was one sort of like woman in the movie who he met in Germany when he tried to first find Olive, who was a kind of a lovely French film student who he met at a park and kind of had this sort of. She was very wise kind of person, I guess, and seemed to see him in a way that was flattering to him or something. And then there was a very sort of hopeful kind of sort of relationship they had. They went to a restaurant, they had lunch, and they chatted, and then she got hit by a car and got killed right in front of him. So that was a very short little episode that was modular enough that it could be removed.
Yeah.
And I think needed to be. Although I very much liked her, and their relationship was good for me. I mean, it was fun for me to write, and I felt I could see it very clearly. And is there anything else that was significant that was cut out? No, not that I can think of. I mean, no major characters or storylines were cut out other than that. In the final movie, there were things that were cut out for time when we had to shorten it. And again, we were pretty successful at keeping it intact. But there was a character, there was a dog that Hazel finds by the side of the road that's completely squashed, but alive. It's got like a big tire track through it. I'm sorry?
I was just...
And, she thinks he's going to die, but she takes him home to nurse him, and he ends up living. In fact, he ends up living for an impossibly long time because he's still alive at the end of the movie when everybody else is dead.
Right.
But he lives the whole movie completely flattened out. And so that was there. We shot it, and then we needed to cut some storyline out, and that was kind of like, first of all, it's an expensive effect to sort of do over and over again, so it was kind of a good thing to get rid of, but it was also, it didn't need to be there. Although I liked it would have been a nice textural thing.
Counterweight, yeah.
He still appears in the movie, just because we couldn't get him out of a shot that we had. He's in the box office with her in one moment. She's got a dog there, but you can't see the rest of his body.
That's great. I was just going to say, I mean, I know you had some experience with actors before. I mean, the acting was really phenomenal.
Good,
it's amazing.
Yeah. They're phenomenal actors.
They are.
It's hard to miss,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I assume this comes as you were able to. I assume you signed them up for less than their usual rate.
I assume so. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not really. That's not part of my job. But yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I think that goes across the board. I think everybody, in all the major crew positions, was doing this for less than for a discount.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to.
And I've heard Kaufman talk about this great relationship that you've got with the actors.
Oh yeah.
Which,
well, good. Yeah, I've heard. I'm glad that he feels that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Michelle Williams has said stuff about this as well. That,
oh really?
Which, is forming those relationships on this big a scale must be entirely different from doing a sound play, for instance.
Doing what?
Doing a sound play, your previous experience.
Yeah, it was much bigger and much more stressful conditions. The conditions were really hard, and we worked very, very long hours and very condensed. We shot 204 scenes in this movie.
Wow. In
45 days.
Wow.
It's impossible. And then it was in the middle of summer in New York in a warehouse. Phil and Samantha were covered in prosthetics for a lot of the film. Really, really difficult prosthetics, which are very hot and B, take hours and hours to put on. And Phil had, I think, like 4 different looks in the movie, 4 different ages, and each of them takes as long to put on. So we had to schedule it in such a way that we could do, all of Phil at 60 that we needed to do in one day without changing more than once, because if it takes 4.5 hours to put on Phil's one prosthetic, then it takes like an hour and a half to take it off, and then put on another 4.5 hours. You've lost an entire day.
Yeah.
So schedule with him for when I'm free.
So is trying, and
Mel Dembski.
And but
When just remind me to call him.
But it was.
Next week.
I mean, for the most part, it was fun, I guess. I think for me, I mean, it was long and stressful, but I enjoyed the process. And the thing about directing was that there's nothing meandering about it. In terms of your day,
Right, it's all got to be.
You know exactly where you need to be and what you need to be doing at every moment of the day.
Right. Before I switch gears, let me just look through, make sure that.
Okay.
So this, you may or may not follow me on this one, but I was hoping we could talk a little bit about recursion.
Recursion
as a theme, I guess recursiveness is another way of
tell me what you mean.
putting it. I guess so. I guess probably the cleanest example, or easiest for me to understand, because I'm not an expert in this stuff, is adaptation as a kind of as a paradox, or as a logic exercise. I don't know if
It's funny, like I remember reading this thing online about recursiveness in my work and looking it up and thinking, oh yeah, I didn't know what the word meant, and it was like really cool, but now I completely don't remember what it means, so
it's I'll try and explain it, because again, I'm not a logician, but the basic idea is something that contains itself and therefore creates a quasi-infinite loop. So, for instance, Caden decides he wants to create a complete a replica of his life in theater, which means that he has to create a replica of himself creating a replica of his life, which means ... ad infinitum. So I guess I was wondering if this is a theme that you consciously think about, and it sounds like you don't, which is fine.
No, I do. I just probably don't think about it with that word, because I don't know the word.
Yeah.
I think about that stuff all the time, and when I'm writing, my mind tends to go there. Tends to sort of, well, if this, then this. Well, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, then it has to be this, then it has to be this, and it's kind of like it is obviously infinite, and I I take a great pleasure in that. I mean, it's like something that excites me.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And so,
I mean, there's something.
I had this idea for a theme park.
I like it already.
I don't know if I should give it away, but I should, because, well, I will.
You want to shoot it?
I had this idea for a theme park.
SMS to Eli. Shoot me forward.
After,
Forward.
I don't know, there was like, I don't know what it's called. It's called Paris, Las
I
Vegas?
don't know really. I never been
What, you mean the casino in Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Are you going to say that you had an idea for a theme park Las Vegas?
Yeah.
Because I had this idea as well. And
Okay, but let's hear your idea.
well, my idea is you've got a casino called Las Vegas, which is a recreation of the Vegas Strip, and then by the time you get to the Las Vegas part, it's recreated again and again and again to an infinite loop.
And my thinking, why would be success? I can't believe you had that.
I can't believe it either, and my wife
That's
will.
recursive, right?
Yes, that's exactly
Okay.
recursive.
My thinking about it was,
Let's do this together.
but my thinking of it is that
Thank you.
the commercials for Paris, Las Vegas on the radio are like, all the wonders of Paris without Parisians, or something like that. And I was thinking, well, and you don't ever have to leave. If you want to go to Paris, Las Vegas, you don't have to leave Las Vegas. So you steal all the business from the whole rest of the strip.
That's great.
And it's brilliant. It's like you're completely sheltered. In this thing, and you've got everything you want. It's slightly smaller than the other version of it.
Yeah.
It would have to be.
It's kind of like
but that's
it's like the Olive, sort of, a little bit, right?
The Olive.
There's this. Sorry, this is obnoxious, maybe, but there's this Borges short story, The Olive, in which somebody has a something under the staircase that is. It's called an olive, and it's basically
the olive.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said the olive.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The olive, right?
Yeah.
So you can get everything within that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Plus, you don't have to go outside into the nasty Las Vegas Strip. You can stay inside the,
you're
the pseudo Las Vegas Strip. Yeah.
Everything in Las Vegas without Las Vegas people.
Right. Oh, that's great. Well, awesome. I knew this interview was happening for a reason. So I'm going to read another quote that I found online that I predict you may not have much of a response to, but here we go.
Wait, did I do the recursive thing well enough?
Oh yeah. Although if you want to keep going, I mean, this is so.
I don't have any other thoughts about it.
I'm not like a mathematician at all. But for some reason I find myself drawn to these ideas of recursive, and I think there is a kind of logic / math thing going on.
I've been told that my stuff is mathematical, and I am definitely not a mathematician, but I am really interested in it, and I do like that kind of. It's like there's like a hidden epiphany in it for me. You think you understand something, but you think, oh wait a minute, what if this? And then all of a sudden this other sort of version opens up. I guess it's sort of Escher stuff, which I really like. And the Library of Babel about the Borges. Do you know that story?
I don't know if I know that one.
That's
I'll read it though. Yeah.
That story is about a library
Quick questions. One is
which contains
office room.
it's an infinite number of volumes, and it contains every combination of letters.
If there is, I'm coming in. Second,
So if you can find the right combination of letters, you will find everything in the universe, everything explained in the universe. If you find the right book, it'll form it'll be like, for example, you can find a book where it plays out your life, moment by moment by moment. Of course, most of it is just nonsense. It's just gobbledygook.
Right. This is the monkeys and the typewriters a little bit.
It is the monkeys and the typewriters.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. But the conceit of it is, for some reason, much more pleasing to you than the monkeys with the typewriters.
Yeah.
Because it isn't just about, well, they'll do the whole works of Shakespeare. It's like, everything that ever was and ever will be has to be here.
Right. Are you familiar with the book? And I'm reading it now with a specific thought to your work. Gödel, Escher, Bach. Have you heard of this book?
I have it. Hofstadter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I read that book probably 15, 20 years ago, and I really liked it. And then I got to a point where I I couldn't understand it.
Yeah, me too. That's I'm about that point again now.
And then I get frustrated. I've had that experience with him on several occasions. So, and that's when I get really frustrated that I feel like I'm stupid enough, or I don't have a math education that allows me to. So, but yeah, I'm familiar with it sitting in my room in my office.
So, are you a puzzle guy?
I like logic puzzles, but I like logic. Is that kind of puzzle?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect.
I like them, but I like ones that don't require me to do math to do them.
So, can you like an example?
Oh, I don't know. For a while there, I was really into those. I don't even remember how they go, but everyone is a liar. This tribe is a liar.
Paradox. Yeah.
Not liars.
I'm so glad to hear you say this because I was worried that. Anyway, yes, I've been thinking a lot about this stuff at the registered work, and so now I'm going to read this thing that I just read on a blog. It's just some guy.
About me, or
yes, about you.
It's weird. Isn't that weird that there's like people blogging?
It's from the Tacoma, Washington Film Club or something.
Okay.
I do not, and he's a former professor, I guess. I do not know whether or not Charlie Kaufman has embarked on a consciously explicit attempt to translate the implications of Gödel's theorem to film, but in his previous screenplays, Being John Malkovich and Adaptation, he's obviously using the concept of self-reference to create cinematic strange loops. So then I just wrote like question mark. So I mean, I don't know if you care to comment on that, but
well, I mean, I feel like I have.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just stuff that I find tickles me.
Right.
Tickles me to think about it. So I try to write things that tickle me, and that's.
And maybe this gets back at that issue of increasing complexity that I was talking about earlier. There's a little bit of recursiveness in Being John Malkovich when he goes into his own portal, kind of. Right. And then adaptation, there's sort of the two hands, like you think about the Escher painting of the two hands writing themselves. And then I feel in Synecdoche, there are these levels within levels within levels, kind of dot, to infinity.
Right. Well, the warehouse within the warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's maybe what I meant by the ratcheting up of complexity. But I don't know if that's a conscious decision on your part, or if it's just something you're naturally sort of drawn to push.
I think it might be something I'm just drawn to push because it's fun.
Yeah.
And
What's that? Right. What's that next Roby?
I was looking at an episode. They've got this on YouTube. They've got this episode of a series that I wrote.
Was it Get a Life?
Get a Life, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't seen this thing since I wrote it, but I found it on YouTube and I was looking at it and I was noticing that there's lots of that sort of stuff in there in that thing. Like,
why is he out?
The episode is called 1977-2000. Everything we wrote at one point had to end in 2000. So this is about. Do you know the show at all?
I've seen it sparingly, but
Chris Elliott is in this season. He's living with Brian Doyle Murray in Brian Doyle Murray's garage, and he's an idiot. Chris Elliott, they're both idiots, but Chris is the bigger idiot. Not in real life.
Right. Understood.
Okay. Jesus, please.
Right. There's a pull quote.
So anyway, so it turns out that Brian's character used to be a cop, but was thrown off the force for pissing on his captain. And Chris decides that if he can go back in time and change that incident, then Brian Doyle Murray can have a good life. Not be this sort of bitter ex-cop. And so he invents a time drink and is able to go back. And Chris is 30 years old and he's a paper boy. So he goes back in time and he lands in front of his house, and this little fat kid with blonde curly hair rides by throwing newspapers, and Chris looks at him and goes, "Hey, it's me from the past." And the little boy who rides by says, "Hey, it's me from the future." And like that sort of like tickles me, you know.
Right. He recognizes this. Yeah.
Well, and then later Chris changes the future by doing something, and it's a disaster. So he has to go back and do it again. You know, it's that story.
Time travel.
Yeah. And so he goes back to the exact same moment, and the little kid rides by again on his bike, and he says, and the little kid says, "What, did you fuck up the future last time you came?"
That's great.
And I don't know. To me, this seems like akin to it. It's commenting on, you know, and then the kid. It's really. I shouldn't be blowing my own horn, but I was like, really, wow, these are funny jokes. And then, but they're very specifically my jokes. And I wrote this thing in like 1991. So to sort of see that, it's kind of like a little bit of a time capsule for me.
Yeah.
And then he goes back. No. Did the kid? The kid asks him why he's back there, and he says, well, you know, I inadvertently changed the future, and now my boss, he doesn't say inadvertently, because that's not a word that Chris knows. I changed the future, and now Gus, his name of the character, has been executed, because he ended up killing somebody. And the little boy says, well, as long as you're, and Chris is bald. He says, as long as you're here, I want to ask you a few questions about my future. And Chris says, okay, go ahead. He says, will I be bald? Will I change? Will I discover a time drink? Will I inadvertently change the future and get Gus executed?
That's great.
Oh, so the other thing that happens. I'm sorry. This is
no. Go ahead.
I actually love it. He's like, so he goes into the house and he's trying to think of a way to explain to these guys in the house who he is without scaring them. And he says he's from like the future, or he's from Starman or something. And the guy says you're crazy. Gus says you're a psycho. And then he says something that Gus finds really helpful. And he says, you know, God, kid, maybe you are a Starman after all. And then the next time he comes back, there's no mention of Starman, but he says something that's helpful to Gus, and then Gus says, God, kid, maybe you are a Starman after all, which is like completely insane.
Comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Oh, well, so the whole thing's on YouTube?
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. That's great. So another, you know, in my attempts to sort of fit this into the Wired rubric, you know, that this helps a lot. And then the other thought, and maybe it's a little obvious, is the idea of perception being sort of filtered through neuroscience in some sense. And it's not explicitly in this movie, but I feel it's
perception being filtered through neuroscience.
Yeah. Through.
Well, I mean, it is in this movie in the sense that I've externalized Caden's inner life in this movie. That's what I did. I tend to write very interior kind of stories, and usually I use voiceover to communicate that, and I decided not to use any voiceover in this movie. At least there's voiceover, but there's a trick to it. And so I made the world look like what this character sees the world as, and it's all, and the movie has a very definite dream logic to it.
Well, and his functions are shutting down, which I assume were meant to interpret the film through that kind of lens as well.
Yeah, his functions are shutting down, and we have a palette shift in the movie You know, where towards the end of the movie it becomes a lot less color in the movie. It's very colorful at the beginning, a lot less colorful. And obviously, a lot more desolate towards the end of the movie. You know, unpopulated. So.
Can you talk a little bit about your? I mean, obviously, this is. I think that Eternal Sunshine specifically is another example.
Well, that's a movie that takes place where one character exists almost completely inside somebody else's mind. It's not really her, you know.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about that until I read an interview with you. You said your only real, I guess, except for the bookends, right? Your only. It's all filtered through his memory.
Yeah, it's all his memory, and it's not trustworthy, absolutely. But it's not only is it not trustworthy, but it's his perception of her, you know, which is pretty much how people exist. I mean, you don't exist to me, you don't exist in an objective way. You exist as my perception of you. Vice versa, I'm assuming if you really exist,
right?
Which I don't know,
right? Right.
So.
And there's that. I'm sorry, you probably hate it when people do this, but there's that point in the movie where the cover of the profile of the Catherine Keener character where she says, you know, I think it's something like when I look I see, when I see I paint. It's that simple or something, which is sort of the objectivist, right? The alternating. I mean, do you? I guess I don't have a question, a sort of theme, but like, do you? I know you studied memory when you were writing Eternal Sunshine. Sort of.
Yeah. I mean, I read books, and
that counts.
Michelle and I went and talked to some kind of neuroscientist early on in the process. But I don't really know how helpful that was, but we did. But yeah, I read a lot about memory, and I don't know. You know, if you I talked about in an interview before, so you may have read this or know that I kind of did this experiment with an interview. Well, not an interview, with just bringing a tape recorder to a dinner with my wife and recording the conversation, and then asking her to write down everything about the dinner, and I did the same almost immediately afterwards, let alone 2 years later, and it's astounding what was missing.
Yeah.
You know, and how different they were, And the other thing that was sort of interesting is that there's very little in the way of actual verbatim conversation that's remembered, you know, and we think we remember things that we don't, when we really have to, it's really crazy. It's so crazy, you know, it's so crazy how many different things that are going on in your brain that you can't, like I know other people's faces well enough to know slight little details that are changed, you know, when I see them from time to time. A different haircut or a different pair of glasses or facial hair or even smaller things than that. But I couldn't describe it, you know? I couldn't verbalize it either. I certainly couldn't draw it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that could be argued that I'm just not skilled enough to draw it.
Right, but you couldn't.
But I can't articulate it.
Right.
But it's somewhere in my brain. It's, you know, there's that information, and you know, and probably. Even if I can't articulate the exact conversation that I had with somebody, if afterwards you came up to me and said, "Remember when we talked about this?" and we hadn't talked about that,
right.
I would know that we hadn't talked about it.
Right.
Even though I can't. I mean, somewhere I know exactly what we talked about.
Right.
Even though after this conversation, I won't know at all what we talked about.
Right.
I mean, I'll have vague ideas, you know. That stuff is interesting to me.
Did you do any similar research when writing this movie?
No. I'm trying to think if I did. Did I do any similar research? What would I have researched?
Just if, the link between the brain shutting down and how you perceive reality.
No, I didn't do any research. Just basically, dug into my own story.
So before we stop, and I really do appreciate the time you're giving me.
No, it's fun. It's
great. To the degree that you're comfortable, I'd love to just because I can piece it together through articles and all that stuff, but just to talk to you about it, just an overview of your career. I don't really care about your personal life, as I said, but just in terms of, I know you worked at Nick and Stacy, I know you worked at Get a Life. At some point in there, I know you wrote on, the spec script for Being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
But can you kind of just walk me through your career a little bit?
Yeah, I got my first job was on Get a Life.
And what year was that?
91.
Okay. And this was right out of NYU, or?
No, I kicked around for a long time.
You were in Minneapolis.
I was in Minneapolis. I left Minneapolis to come here to look for work. I was able to secure an agent while I was in Minneapolis who told me to come out here.
And this is based on your
National
Lampoon stuff? Or
my what?
Your Lampoon stuff? Or?
No. I wrote some spec TV scripts. I wrote a few Simpsons, a couple of Simpsons, and
I would love to read that.
and yeah, I'm still eating. Thanks.
Thank you.
I wrote It's Gary Shandling's show. I don't know if you remember that.
Great show. I love that.
Yeah.
Can you?
I don't know if I have them. I'll look.
Oh, well, that would be great. But that would be amazing. But do you remember any of the plots that you? Particularly for the Simpsons.
For the Simpsons or for the Gary Shandling?
Either one. But
the Gary Shandling show was about it might be similar to my other stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it now. Let me see how much I can remember. Gary. His audience gets bored. The audience for the show, because they exist.
Yeah.
And I can't remember why, but they leave. It turns out that there's like a volleyball game or something at the beach, so they go, and he can't do the show. He can't do it without like response, so he buys himself a laugh track machine, and he becomes addicted to it. He can't function without it. He needs it in every aspect of his life. There were complications, but I don't remember them. There was that. I'm trying to remember the Simpsons. There were two Simpsons. Bart runs away in one of them and gets hypnotized by an evil ringmaster and joins the circus of hypnotized people. And he becomes a high wire act. But I don't remember anything more about it. That was called Acrobart. And then I did one where Homer he's hurt because he's such a failure at Bart's parent day. Fathers come in and talk about their work.
Right.
Somehow he signs up for a correspondence secret agent school, and I don't remember much about that one
Very
either.
Barris, yeah.
That's true. But anyway, so I moved out.
Yes.
I moved out here to try to get work. Temporarily moved out here to try to get work, and I got work.
With Get a Life.
Yeah, it's funny because I came out here and I got no interviews, and I was really freaked out, and I was spending my days in I had rented a room in someone's condo in North Hollywood, and it was really as far from like Hollywood as you can. I just got no interviews, and I sat there all day, and then I got an offer to do a cable show that was being done in Minneapolis to star Fred Willard, coincidentally. And so it was like a writing job, and I was going to take it. It was like I'd never had a writing job before, and I would never have come out here again. So right before I was packed to leave, I got a call to interview for this Get a Life, and the guy hired me, and he said couldn't tell me right away, but I shouldn't take the job in Minneapolis. So I trusted him, and I called and said I'm not taking it and I'm staying, and then he hired me. And so I got on that show, and then I did that for the first year, and then that show got canceled, and then I did a show called The Edge, which was produced by the same guy who produced Get a Life, and it was a sketch show.
Did it ever? I don't know.
Yeah, and it aired on Fox, and it has the distinction of featuring Jennifer Aniston, I think, in her first
Really?
television role, and Wayne Knight. I don't know if you know who Wayne Knight is.
Is he?
He's Newman.
Yeah, right.
And who else is on it? It was like crazy. It was like so actually, it's funny because I worked with Jennifer Aniston on a failed show, and then I worked on Before Friends, and then I worked with Courtney Cox on a failed show Before Friends, which was called Trouble with Larry.
Trouble with Larry?
Yeah, Bronson Pinchot from Perfect Strangers show, and then I did a show called Misery Loves Company, which was a failed show.
Did you enjoy this work?
Some of it. I enjoyed Get a Life a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy... I mean, I enjoyed a lot of people I worked with, but, they, for the most part, the shows were not really my taste, and they were not successful. So it was kind of a bad combination. I did... But, first of all, at the beginning, it was like really cool because I was being paid to be a writer, and I could say I was a writer. I could actually say that, which I could ever say before when I was answering phones.
For the Star Tribune or whatever.
Star Tribune and Art Institute in Minneapolis. Then I worked on a show called. Then I worked on the Dana Carvey show. I went to New York to do that show. Which I worked with really funny writers on that show. They were great. It was a great group of people. That was another failed show. And then I came back and I worked on Ed and Stacy, which was my last show.
For someone whose work is so... I wrote this question down. I could probably word it better if I read it. But, so much of your work is very hostile towards the idea of things that get wrapped up in those packages. Of course, these half-hour sitcoms are so formulaic in a lot of ways, and it sounds like a lot of the stuff you worked on was not necessarily as bad as some of the other stuff.
They were, but you know what? It's also kind of like I'm proud to say that I closed down more than one show.
Right, taking it down from the inside.
No, I mean not intentionally, but a couple of episodes that I wrote, they canceled the week because they wouldn't do it.
They just refused to.
Yeah, I mean I wrote one episode for this show called Trouble with Larry. Trouble with Larry? I think that's what it was called. Now I'm suddenly blanking, but with Bronson Pinchot show.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier.
Where there was another aerialist, another circus performer with a high wire monkey or chimp or something, who was a very, very, very sort of celebrated circus performer who had come to this town and had fallen and had broken every bone in his body, and was in a full body cast in the hospital. And meantime, the main sort of Bronson Pinchot, who was kind of like this troublemaker, crazy guy, lived with a guy who was an archaeologist and his wife. He had brought home he'd discovered a mummy, which was some new child king mummy that he had brought home, and he was going to impress his boss with. So somehow the mummy had gotten destroyed. No. What happened was the mummy was mistaken by Bronson Pinchot for a piñata, and there was a children's party. So they decorated this thing, and the kids are all batting at it, and then all of a sudden all this dust and bone starts pouring on the kids, and then this is a horrible thing because the guy who's the mummy was, and his boss from the museum is coming home for dinner.
Right.
So they decide that they're going to steal Bobo the chimp in the body cast from the hospital and put him in the box so that you know, and I don't remember how it ends, but we closed down the show. They wouldn't do it, and
now what is that like? I've never done any sort of entertainment industry story before, so what does that mean if they closed it down? Who closes it down?
The network.
They just look at the script and were like, no way? Or
we have the script to do this week. There's no way we're doing the script, therefore they can't do a show that week. So they say, we're going down, we're going to redo another script, come back next week. And that happens.
Oh, so we'll take this week off, basically.
Yes.
I see.
No, I didn't,
so it wasn't
I didn't,
like the end of the show.
I didn't destroy the show, I didn't help. But you know, there was a woman on the staff who was like an animal rights person who was like really, and she was really like, she was crying over this. I was like, man, this is the stupidest. This idea makes no sense. Any way you look at it.
Right.
You know, the monkey's in a human hospital. A mummy doesn't look like a piñata. Why can't you just make a fake mummy rather than steal a monkey from the hospital and put it in the box? I mean, you know, there's no reason that it makes it. Which is what's funny to me about it. It's like saying this form is such bullshit. Let's fool around with it, you know?
Right. It's like a satire of sitcom.
Yeah. So that was a kind of a conventional show. I did that, and I did it other times. I don't remember what they were now, but I always liked that episode.
That's great.
And,
what sort of stuff did you do for Ned and Stacy? Because I feel like I watched that once or twice, and it seems less, wacky.
I wrote a couple of I wrote a pretty wacky episode where he Ned and his friend on the show are going to go to Nepal, and his friend chickens out at the last minute at the airport. He can't go, and so and Ned makes a lot of fun of him. This is Thomas Hayden Church who plays Ned,
right.
And makes a lot of fun of him. Calls him a chicken, whatever. I remember it all that well, but he starts sending him video postcards from Nepal for him to sort of like make him feel bad.
Right.
But it turns out, we find out that he also chickened out, and he's in an airport hotel in Queens, and he set up the room. He's set up the room with like with a Sherpa and a tent and fake snow, and
he hired a Sherpa to stand around.
Well, he hired a, no, it's like the Puerto Rican guy, hotel manager, and he's got some animals and some goats or something there, and so that was that episode, and then and then his friend, his name's Eric, I think, on the show gets so embarrassed that he gets up his courage and gets on an airplane to Nepal. even though Ned's not there. There was that episode. But that show got pretty silly in the second season. That's sort of what happens. I always come in on the second season and the shows are getting silly then because I guess it's that jumping shark sort of phenomenon, you know. It's like, what the fuck are we going to write about, you know?
Right.
So...
News radio feels like it would have been a good show for you.
There were a lot of shows that I would like to work on. That probably was one of them. I couldn't get on a good show. I wanted to write for The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I always wanted to... The Simpsons finally offered me a job, you know, like, after adaptation came out or something.
Really?
Are you crazy? You know?
It wasn't very good by that point anyway.
What?
I think The Simpsons is not what it once was.
Well, A, it's not what it once was, and
Well, you
B,
could-
I've got a
obviously.
career now.
Yeah, right,
And C,
right.
it's like, it's a really hard job. I mean, they work so many weeks a year, and they don't get good money, and it's like, why would I do this? you
Right,
know?
totally.
But I wanted to work on The Simpsons. I wanted to work on... What else? There were some really great shows that Seinfeld I wanted to work on. I couldn't get Seinfeld. I wanted to work on Larry Sanders. Couldn't get on that show. I could get on crappy shows.
So you did this for, I guess, and then at which
Like
point...
7 years.
And at which point did you write Malkovich?
Probably after The Edge, which was the show after Get a Life.
So
During,
like
you know, what happened is that we'd get
1980
canceled, and then I'd have like all this months of waiting until hiring season again. So I did that for 2 seasons. One off season I wrote Malkovich, and then the next off season I wrote Human Nature, and then I continued with my jobs, and then I don't know when I wrote Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. I think I might have still been writing for TV then. I don't remember for sure. Yeah, pretty sure. And then I went to New York to do Dana Carvey, and that's when Spike got interested, and also Single Cell, kind of around the same time, which is Michael Stipe's production company. They optioned it.
Right.
So, and then Spike came on, and then...
Do you know, did they get the script to Spike? Or
No,
it's just
no, it was
totally
completely
independent?
separate. It was just, you know, they were both attached at the same time, so
Yeah.
we kind of all found ourselves together. And then I did Ned and Stacy, and then I decided to... Oh, and in the interim, in one of those years, early on, I got a development deal at Disney, which was a very early development deal. Early in my career, it was like probably inadvisable to have it then, because you don't really have any clout, and
Right. They lock you
and
in.
obviously the money's not the money you would get if you had a hit show or something. So, but I wrote a bunch of pilots for them, and none of them got made. Some of them were good. Some of them should have gotten made.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second.
Yeah.
I need to use the restroom.
Okay.
So while I'm gone, if you want to, whisper sweet nothings or scream in anguish
I
at
thought
the
you were saying-
recorders.
I thought you were going to allow me to eat now.
Yes, how you
When do you go back to San Francisco?
I've got a flight tonight at 6:30 or so.
Okay.
Yeah. Why'd you ask?
Because I'm screening the movie tonight.
Oh yeah. I mean, I could probably change it.
You mentioned you want to see it again. If you want to see it, you can.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm going to be looking at it in Warner Brothers. I've got a new print that I need to look at with some changes in it, actually. So.
Well, let me think. Let me. After we talk, I'll call my travel agent and see if we can.
Okay. We'll be at 7 o'clock in Warner Brothers, so you probably would be. I mean, you're not going to be out of there till 9:30.
Sure. Well, I can fly back either late tonight or probably tomorrow morning, but that would be okay. Thanks for letting me know about that. That's great. Great. Good. When we last left our hero, he was he had a development deal at Disney that you probably should have signed, and we're writing pilots.
Well, I mean, it was okay. It was fine. But career-wise, they said it wasn't.
Right, because
great advice. Although the thing was, I didn't have a job offer that year, so for a show.
And this is like mid-90s, I guess.
This is probably 93.
Oh wow! So this all happened really quick.
94. Yeah.
So these jobs that you would have, how long would they last usually?
First two jobs were. First job was. I think we were canceled after half a season. Get a Life.
Uh-huh.
I think we did 13 shows. And then I don't remember if The Edge was a whole season or not. It might have been a half a season also. Disney was a whole year.
Uh-huh.
The next show was canceled. I don't even know. Maybe they aired 3 episodes of the show. Ms. Ritliff's company. I'm not really sure.
Uh-huh.
I think the same is true with The Trouble with Larry. It barely aired.
And the pilots that you wrote, these are the, I'm going to mess up the name, but like Depressed Roommates. Or
Depressed Roomies.
Depressed Roomies, right.
Depressed Roomies was there.
And this is stuff that you did for Disney?
I did that one for Disney, and then later I wrote one for HBO called In Limbo.
Right.
Which also didn't get made. And what else did I do for Disney? I wrote one on my own called Rambling Pants.
Right.
For Disney, I wrote something called Astronauts, which was not my title. Not to make fun of the people at Disney that I worked for, because they were very nice.
Right.
But it was like my meeting with them was, so we have the greatest idea for you. The greatest idea for a pilot. Okay, are you ready? Astronauts. It was like a joke.
Right.
It's like,
right.
How is that an idea?
What, crazy astronauts, I guess, is that it?
Well, they didn't know.
They just had
the title. What so
yikes.
So I wrote a kind of a throwback to the Monkees show about a Monkees type, goofy rock band who were, a rock band by night and astronauts during the day. And their biggest issues were getting home from space in time so that they could make their cake.
That's great.
It was funny. And what else? I wrote one more for them, but I don't remember what it is now. Must have been good. Yeah, I don't know.
Cool. And at which point? So it was during the Dana Carvey stuff that.
Well, during the Dana Carvey, it was when I went to see Spike, and then when it looked like we were going to get Malkovich made, I decided to leave TV. I decided I would take the risk and not look for a job after Ned and Stacey was over. And that's it. I didn't. And then I did Malkovich, and then Human Nature, and then adaptation of Eternal Sunshine. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind was somewhere in there, but I can't remember exactly the sequence because I didn't really work on that. That was a script that kicked around a lot and was of interest to a lot of people who didn't end up working on it. Different actors and a few different directors.
I've heard you weren't totally thrilled with the results of that one.
No, I wasn't thrilled with that movie at all.
Can I ask you why?
I feel like it wasn't understood. I feel like my value when to a director is to let them make them aware of what the movie's about. And he wasn't interested in that, and so I feel like the things that he was interested in the movie were kind of the things that I was not interested in at all, and kind of it seems to me that he was very interested in the notion of CIA agent by night, game show host by day. That was like,
right.
And it had absolutely nothing to do with. It's almost irrelevant to me, and I feel like that the movie didn't have any subtext because of that,
Right.
And I didn't really hold together, and I wasn't emotionally. And people, that I've spoken to have had very, very different experiences of that script than they did of the movie. It was one of those scripts that got like a lot of attention. Like I said, all these people wanted to be in it and make it and star in it, and then the movie was sort of. It didn't have any power or heart or truth to it. Very flashy. I mean, I do want to say, and I have said, I think Sam Rockwell was great in it.
Yeah, he was amazing.
And I think Drew Barrymore was great in it. I think it's the best thing I've ever seen her do. I really think that she was good. And so it isn't. And both of those people I've met and like and don't want to take anything away from them. But I guess that's sort of. And maybe I'm fooling myself. Maybe this is as good a version of the movie as was possible. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe the script didn't offer more than that. But I felt that it did, and I felt in the other things I've worked on, there's been something underlying that has made it work for me that wasn't there. And I feel like the fact that he didn't want my involvement probably sours me to it.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't think it did in the world what my other movies that have been successful have done.
Right.
So maybe I'm not completely, subjective.
And can I ask your thoughts on Human Nature as well? Because that's in the canon is seen as maybe a lesser Kaufman.
I mean, again, it's hard for me to sort of separate myself in the same way that I feel kind of a distance from Confessions. I feel a closeness to Human Nature because I was involved in it. And I think if there are... I think that I haven't seen Human Nature in a long time, so it's hard for me to sort of know what my current opinion on it is. But I feel like there's some really great things in Human Nature. And I feel like it got screwed in a way. It got screwed by the people who distributed it because it didn't do well at Cannes, and they kind of ran, and they didn't put any money or any time in it, and it just opened and disappeared.
They picked it up before Cannes?
No, they produced it. It was Fine Line. Yeah.
Got it.
I think Reese Ifans is amazing in that movie.
Yeah.
It's an amazing performance, and I think that Reese should have been a star after that movie. I mean, that's what I was sort of thinking was going to happen, and that's what I think should have happened. You know, it's a really difficult performance to do, and I think he was, you know, really funny and really heartbreaking and a million things, and it's a very sort of versatile performance, you know. So, and Patricia Arquette's great in the movie too. I mean, I think that the movie has a lot to recommend it, and I think it's funny, and I think that it came off of being John Malkovich, and I think there were expectations that it was going to be being John Malkovich, but it was a different director who had very different ideas than Spike does. I mean, they're very different people, you know, and I think that, you know. And Spike and Michelle didn't want to do being John Malkovich. Actually, he did want to do being John Malkovich, but that was taken. But he didn't want to do Spike. He didn't want to do a Spike type style movie. You know, he felt like he wanted to stand on his own. So I don't know. I mean, there are always probably things that I would do different, but. I mean, it's easier for me to talk about what I do different maybe in Malkovich than it is in Human Nature, because I feel like I don't want to kick a dog that's down.
Right.
You know?
Right, sure.
I mean, I think that it was a very kind of sincere effort by everybody, and everybody worked really hard, and I think the movie is good. So it's scary. It's scary. You know, it's a scary thing. It's like, whoa. I mean, that movie made $600,000, you know, when it came out. It's like, it's the fear of God in you, you know? I mean, it's like...
Just because you don't have any sense of how things are going to perform, or...
Yeah, because... I don't know, it's just... There's a lot of crap in the world that makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's very confusing, you know?
Yeah. You know, either looking back or at the time, are you or were you surprised at the success of Malkovich and adaptation? And maybe less so Eternal Sunshine, but those two films in particular seem so...
I think we were very scared about being John Malkovich when we first made it. I think that we weren't getting... I mean, I think the people who produced the movie were really scared. They didn't know what to make of it, and we weren't sure how people were going to receive it. And then what happened is it screened at the Venice Film Festival, and like all of a sudden... Well, two things happened. It screened at Venice, and then there was an Esquire article, which was headlined, "The Last Great Film of the 20th Century," or something like that. And it was like, oh, fuck, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's like out of nowhere, you know, because no one knew. It was like one of these movies that wasn't on the radar at all, you know.
Right. Spike's name attached must have brought some expectation, no?
No, I don't
Really?
think so, no. And the company we're making for was sort of being sold and undergoing all these changes, so they were not there, and there was nobody talking about the movie within the company, which I think gave us some freedom that we might not have had if it had been a different environment. But, I mean, maybe Spike's name, but I think within a small circle. I don't think people were expecting it was going to break out like it did. And then it did really well in Venice, and then we sort of kind of felt a little pleased about it. And
it must have been amazing after working on these series of failed sitcoms.
It was amazing, and also kind of like, you know, the thing is you get to sort of, you know, trace your steps back and realize how many different points it could have worked out differently, you know?
Well, like you were saying, if you hadn't met,
had
the
you know,
grudge,
a million different things,
right?
And then even kind of like what happened with the movie in terms of the reception. You know, I mean, it's a pretty fickle sort of world out there, and we happen to catch these people on a good day for us, you know. And, a different jury at Venice, or a different audience, or a different guy at Esquire. I mean, there's
right,
you know,
right. Well, and you did it again with adaptation, which is, you know, I guess you had a reputation and it's sort of probably a built-in following at that point. But
that was scary. Adaptation was scary because I felt like, you know, this idea that I would put myself in the screenplay as a character was going to piss a lot of people off. It was going to be like, who the fuck does he think he is? He's written one movie and now he's like, and it's like, and you know what? And people still say sort of, you know, I see things online about, you know, I'm a one man. Someone wrote on IMDb, I'm like a one man marketing machine or hype machine or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, that was one of the, you know, those comments in the IMDb. It's like, it's really not true.
Yeah.
It's just I needed to. It's a really risky thing for me to do. I mean, professionally and creatively, and I kind of did it because it seemed scary to do it. You know, and it wasn't like at the time. It wasn't like I wasn't even aware of that. You know, like who the fuck does this guy think he is? I mean, I realized that if this thing ever got made, there was going to be that. You know,
right. And I'm still kind of amazed that the studio went with it.
Yeah.
To a degree. I mean,
yeah, it's pretty amazing, right?
Isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think it would happen now. Yeah. I think it's a different time.
Yeah.
But you know, like, Amy Pascal loves this movie. She loves adaptation, you know, and
was she your sort of contact attorney all the way through, or?
Yeah, I mean, she and other people, but she's the boss, so it was like kind of like, you know, what she said went, and you know, but all these years later, you know, like Amy and Amy Baer, who was an executive there. I mean, she still says it was like her best experience. And they make all these other kinds of movies, you know. This is sort of like unusual for them, and it's cool. And I think they felt good about making it. They felt like they were doing something substantial, and then, you know, we got Nick Cage, you know, who obviously made them more comfortable.
Right.
And so yeah, I think it's a pretty amazing thing that it got made.
Right, and get Susan's sign off and all that stuff.
Well, not only Susan. I mean, we had to get
LaRoche. Right.
LaRoche was a piece of cake.
I can imagine. Yeah. What did he comment on the movie at all? I mean, was he a fan of the film?
Yeah, he loved it.
Yeah,
I met him finally at one of the screenings, and then I saw him at the premiere, and he's a very cool guy. I liked him a lot. He's very different than he looked in the pictures from the time. He was very clean cut.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and very sort of professorial.
Really?
He had just gotten married, maybe, and he had little glasses, and very, you know, I think he had gotten his teeth fixed.
Oh,
and
it's kind of disappointing.
It was, but he was just not. I just liked him, and he, you know, he was a good guy, and so yeah, we had to go all those life rights, and
right.
Valerie Thomas, who's the executive that Tilda Swinton played, as a real person.
Oh my gosh,
that was kind of a real kind of meeting.
Yeah,
not the scenes of us in bed. But,
right.
And there were some other. There was a guy who got cut out of the movie. Who was the ranger at the Pakahatchee.
Right. I mean, I'm trying to think about how to put this question. You know, you've taken these huge risks and been rewarded repeatedly. You know, a couple times, and you know, now really you're taking another one. I don't know. That just feels like the context for this film.
You know, what I've said before that I think I feel is kind of like worth restating is that when I talk about adaptation, when I remember the sequence of events that led up to adaptation, it has a completely different feeling than the movie, because the movie is made, and it's a movie, and there's a happy ending going into the movie because the movie is made and you're watching it, so you know that it happened.
Right.
But when I'm writing it and deciding, okay, don't know what to do, I'm not going to tell anyone because they're going to tell me I can't do it this way, but I'm going to stick myself in it, you know. And then everything that comes with that, I was terrified. I mean, in a real way, I was depressed and I was terrified, and I was really blocked, you know, in my writing, and I feel like if this movie, this is a risk. I'm taking another risk now. If this movie ends up doing well or somehow rewarding the risk in some way that makes me feel good, then the risk is a lot easier.
In retrospect.
In retrospect, but this is the hard part for me. This is the hard part of the risk. The retrospect part of the risk, when it's successful at least, is good, because I can be kind of cocky about it. And I go, you know, yeah, well, you know, I'm into taking risks, and this is what I did, and I did, you know, I just did this without. And there's a kind of like, you know, there's an easiness to it that isn't there, at least not for me yet, you know, in my emotional development when I'm doing it. Although I still want to do it, I still want to take the risks because I feel like I should. So,
I mean, I'm thinking there's some irony in the fact that these previous iterations of the story have a happy ending, right? Like the guy goes out and he does something that nobody's done before, and he takes these big risks, and it's a huge success. And you know,
yeah.
And you're saying, like, you know, when you look at it retrospectively, it's a completed movie with a little bow on top, which you know, it, to some degree, is very much the impulse that you're fighting in your movies.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly right. I did anyway at this point. I don't know what I'm going to do next. Try to take it away from that, and I don't know.
Is there a self-sabotaging streak in all of this involved? Not to get too, I don't know,
self-satisfied.
Self-sabotage. Not. I mean, you don't have to answer that question if you don't want to. But.
No, I don't think there's that streak. I think there is this. I think that there is a kind of like a. I think that there is the possibility, at some points, for there to be a I'm going to be the guy who tells the truth, you know, kind of thing, which is like it's not self-sabotaging, but it's the opposite of that. It's like it's completely, you know, I want to be true. I want, you know, it's like proving something or something. Mm-hmm. It's like trying to prove something. I don't know.
It sometimes seems to put you in an oppositional, and not.
Yeah.
You know, it's your audience a little bit, right? That you want to, in the sense that you.
I'm not going to be.
You're not going to give them what they want.
I'm not going to pander to you. I'm going to anti-pander.
Right. Exactly.
And in that sense, the question I raise about myself is that pandering.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Is that kind of like, is that what I do?
Yeah.
But it's so weird. You can't win. You know. It's like I remember this critic said once in a review of Eternal Sunshine. You know, and it was a major critic. You could look it up. Charlie Kaufman would rather, something I'm paraphrasing, would rather jump off a bridge than write a conventional romantic comedy. You know, something like that. It's like I found that disturbing because first of all, well, not first of all, but A, this person would have crucified me if I'd written a conventional romantic comedy, and B, what's the point? And C, aren't there enough of them out there? And D, I'm not interested in that. My intention was actually to do something that was an antidote to romantic comedies, because those things have been, and I've stated this before, they're very bothersome to me. And I wanted to do something that felt like a real relationship, so that I could watch it and not feel that I was poisoning the world with with a fairy tale bullshit thing. But also the fact that you can be criticized for trying to do your job well. I mean, that's my job. My job is to write things and make them interesting and make them thought-provoking, and I see that as my job description. I mean, if that's not my job description, then I don't want this job.
It surprises me that was meant as a bad thing.
Well, you should look at the review and tell me what you think, because I saw it as something, someone saying he needs to prove how clever he is all the time.
Uh-huh.
That's how I read it, which doesn't really. I mean, if you have a clever idea, that isn't necessarily a negative thing.
Right. Right.
I mean, I guess it could be. If that's what it's about, but if it's a clever idea or a clever structure that works in support of a story you want to tell, then it seems to me to be a good thing. I mean, if it isn't, if it's a show-offy thing, I would agree. But I honestly don't. I became aware very early of that tendency in people. I saw it in somebody I used to know, whose whole sort of reason for writing was to show how clever he was. And I really tried not to do that. I mean, I recognize that as a bad thing, as a thing that's masturbatory.
Right.
And
you kind of, you implicitly are aware of that critique within the work itself, right? I mean, you use the word masturbatory, obviously there's a lot of masturbation in adaptation, right?
Right. But yeah, I guess so. I have to think about that. I don't know. I mean, it's like hard to know why you do things, but I think sometimes I just have a lot of masturbation in things because there's a lot of masturbation. And I just kind of want to represent the world, and maybe like in this movie I have a lot of feces because there's a lot of feces and you don't ever see it in movies.
Yeah.
And I decided in this movie that I'm not going to have any masturbation, so that I'll have feces instead, and I'm going to open the door to feces now.
Right, and you'll just have failed sex instead.
Yeah, a lot of that too.
Right. Okay, so you've been very patient. I've got two more sort of questions and we'll be done. Right? I really do appreciate this. The first one is, again, like another topic without a real question, but Philip K. Dick, I know you wrote an adaptation of Scanner Darkly, which I really enjoyed. And I know he comes up all the time when people talk about you. What's your relationship to him as an author?
Well, we were lovers.
I mean, is he somebody that you?
Yeah, I read a lot of Philip K. Dick, and I've really liked him over the years. I haven't read him probably in years now. Obviously, I read Scanner before I wrote the adaptation and during the writing, but I haven't been reading his stuff for a while now.
Do you go all the way with him? I mean, do you go through?
Do I go all the way?
I know you dated, so
yeah.
No, I mean through the. I've only read a few of his novels, which I've all enjoyed, but I haven't gotten into the late stage.
You mean the stuff that they started published after he died, that kind of?
Or like my understanding is that the horse lover fat stuff or whatever.
Oh, you mean like Valis?
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're in the.
Yeah, in fact, I was approached by Dayton and Ferris. You know them?
No, I just say because that's what we do. But.
They're recursive. No, they're directors of. I guess they did a lot of videos, and they did Little Miss Sunshine.
Oh, right on.
And
yeah, sure.
I think that was their first feature.
Yes.
They're really nice people, and but I mean, years and years ago, they approached me to do a an adaptation of Valis, which I considered, but it never really came together. I like that book a lot. I haven't been interested in his sort of non-science fiction stuff. I mean, Valis is not entirely science fiction, but it is more. It's not like his like Confessions of a Crap Artist or the sort of more autobiographical stuff. I didn't really respond to, but I loved his ideas, and for a while there I was reading a lot of his stuff, and when I was writing with this writing partner years ago, he's the one who introduced me to him. He worked in a science fiction bookstore. He's the guy. This guy's name's Paul Proch, and he was the guy who did the art for Joel and Eternal Sunshine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just plugged Paul.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I really liked his stuff, and then Michel Gondry and I have discussed a lot of it because Michel really likes him too, and Michel's always wanted to do a Philip K. Dick thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you can correct my impression of him, because again, I haven't read as deeply as I should, but my impression of him is that he gets increasingly abstract as time goes on. Things like Valence, that it's less these little kind of jewels or crystals of cohesion, and they kind of start exploding a little bit. But again, I say this without having read it.
Yeah, I don't. And I haven't read it in a long time, so I don't know. I feel like his stuff is crazy, and is crazy almost all the way back. I mean, stuff like The Man in the High Castle, which is a very early book, which first got him attention, is not, to me, is not as good as his later stuff.
Yeah.
It's a little conventional in the writing, and sometimes his writing is not really great.
Right.
And so you really want the other stuff because the ideas are great, and the characters are really funny, and the dialogue is really funny. It's like this sort of like weird, awkward, precise dialogue, that's sort of that isn't naturalistic in a really great way. That I was always really attracted to as a style, but it's all. I mean, all of his stuff is about people's, what is real. As soon as he got into that sort of thing, which is pretty much all of his books, then it got pretty crazy. I mean, Valis is a book that is, I guess, supposedly more autobiographical, and you know what Horse Lover Fat means, right?
No.
Horse Lover Fat is the translation of his name. Philip, I think, means horse lover in Latin, and Dick means fat in German. So it's him. But there's all this sort of like weird sort of religious thing, and time sort of doesn't exist in a kind of a like it exists in a parallel way. Like it's now, but it's also ancient Rome, and it's just all this sort of like, it's my favorite stuff in the world.
Yeah.
To think about. I love thinking about time. I love thinking about identity. I love thinking about, in Scanner Darkly, that the idea is that this guy is spying on himself but doesn't know it, and, which is recursive.
Right.
And so, what's the question?
No, that's good. That's all I need from that.
I really